Welcome to the Unit 2 overview for 4th grade science. This unit is titled Organisms and Environments. Let's dive in and take a look at our instruction. This first slide highlights some of the key factors that will impact your instruction in this unit. Notice that the instructional days and TEKS aligned with instruction are located at the top. This unit is designed to last 33 instructional days with 1 flex day provided as needed at the teacher's discretion. And the standards addressed in this, the TEKS, will be covered over 2 separate CBAs. The first CBA, given at the end of grading cycle 1 before the fall intersession break, covers only standards 4.10a through 4.10c. CBA 2 will address standards 4.9a and 4.9b and any other standards that are covered after this unit ends. This unit includes only 2 learning plans. Learning Plan 1 on survival addresses the 4.10a's and 4.10a and 4 through 4.10c, and lasts 18 instructional days with 1 flex day. Each of the organisms that have been worked with in the classroom, the mealworms, the betta fish, and the plants, the seeds that were grown, the lima beans and sunflowers, will be interwoven throughout this unit and throughout each of the topics in order to provide continuity and bridging some understanding with the concepts covered. Learning Plan 2, Producers and Consumers, is set to last 15 days. It addresses just 2 standards and takes the time to identify and label some of the ways that organisms are identified within an ecosystem and how they pertain to the food web. Let's take a look at our standards. 4.9a states, investigate that most producers need sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide to make their own food, while consumers are dependent on other organisms for food. In 3rd grade, students are actually observing and describing the physical characteristics of an environment and how they support life. With 4th grade, we are identifying and naming some of the life that is contained inside of those ecosystems and environments, looking at some of the specific needs that those organisms have. This continues on into 5th grade, where students again talk about how those living organisms, the plants and the animals, interact with one another, as well as the non-living components of an environment in order to survive. .9b is talking about food webs. Up until 3rd grade, students have only been doing food chains. Our 3rd graders were exploring the basic components of food chains and predicting what happens if part of a food chain is removed from an ecosystem. In 4th grade, we are introducing food webs. This is to help show the relationship and the flow of energy among producers and consumers. We are also looking at predicting how changes in the ecosystem affect organisms within the food web. This is newer content and some bigger ideas, and relies heavily on 4.9a, where we're talking about producers and consumers, so we're really reinforcing the vocabulary. In 5th grade, with standard 5.9b, students continue to describe the flow of energy within a food web, and they're looking at the specific roles of different components in that food web, including the sun, producers, consumers, and decomposers. Now switching over to the 4.10s. 4.10a is talking about structures and functions. In 3rd grade, students are introduced to the vocabulary structure and function to provide clarity to previously used vocabulary that included things like parts, physical characteristics, and external characteristics. So we're giving them some additional foundation work here. In 4th grade, students are continuing to explore the different structures and functions of both plants and animals that help them to survive within their environment. The same verb is used in 3rd grade and 4th grade, to explore, meaning they need to actually see it. So this is where our organisms really come into play. In 5th grade, we expect our students to be able to compare the structures and functions of different species. That includes our plants and our animals that help them to survive in a specific environment. Okay. 4.10b is an introductory standard to our 4th graders. This does not mean that our kids have never seen this or heard this before, because we're talking about inherited traits and learned behaviors. But this is the formal academic introduction to this concept. So we are wanting our students to explore and describe. And then continuing into 5th grade, 5th graders are expected to differentiate between these two, and examples of each are provided within the standard. Our final standard that we are looking at is 4.10c, talking about life cycles. This is the last time in elementary instruction that we are specifically targeting life cycles. It is embedded throughout 5th grade life science standards, but it is not explicitly addressed. And the 3rd grade standard is accessible on the STAR test, but our 4th graders, this is the last time that they're going to really get to see it in action before moving on to 5th grade. So our 3rd graders are investigating and comparing how animals and plants undergo that series of orderly changes. And in 4th grade, we are continuing to explore, illustrate, and compare the life cycles. So we're giving a little bit more depth to it. Each of the standards in 4th grade life science are aligned to the 5th grade STAR assessed curriculum. None of the 4th grade standards specifically are accessible on STAR for this unit, but they are heavily relied upon in 5th grade for students to be successful. Thank you so much for listening to this video.